What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Mr. Suburbia. Today I'm going to be picking up right where I left off pretty much on the last video, as far as the coolant leak goes on my truck behind me. As you can see from the gargantuan puddle below, I didn't fix the leak, so that hose clamp was not the issue. And I was looking, actually someone commented, Dustin O commented, Mr. Suburbia, I'm 99% positive the coolant leak is a large donut looking O-ring that goes between the intake manifold and the front casing. It's a big O-ring that is about a 1/4 inch thick, and he sent me the link. I looked it up and I'm not really sure that that's it, just because it is most certainly coming from the thermostat right there. So I went to O'Reilly's and picked up a brand new Murray thermostat. $20 for a brand new Murray thermostat. I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in there. As you can see here, it's got this O-ring around it, you know, on the bottom of it where it goes down into the housing. So I'm wondering if while my truck was apart, the engine was apart for a month over at Leadham's when it was getting all the work done to it, if this was out and maybe that O-ring just dried up a little bit, enough to contribute to that going out faster and causing a coolant leak. Now that I've seen this whole assembly here, it's kind of baffling that it would be leaking from the hose, especially with that hose type or hose clamp being as tightened as it is. I also got a new upper radiator hose. I'm just going to reuse the hose clamps that I have, just in case that one's bad. I figured why not. It was 13 bucks, and then I got this nice clean 5-gallon bucket to drain my coolant into. So hopefully with the coolant, the gallon that I bought the other day and whatever's in my truck, I'll have enough to get it back up to where it's supposed to be after I change out the thermostat. And fingers crossed, yeah, I can't really cross, yeah, I can't cross my fat fingers. Fingers crossed this thermostat fixes my problem. Before I get started, I'm just gonna clean this up real quick because I was changing the oil on the Suzuki over the weekend. Getting ready to do some riding since it is basically like springtime in the winter here in January in Colorado. It's 55 right now, and excuse me, burrito's coming back to haunt me. It's 55 right now, and we're looking at a pretty warm weekend ahead of us, so I might do some dirt bike riding this weekend. Not really sure, but either way I needed to do an oil change. And yeah, so I'm gonna get this picked up real quick and move my truck into the center of the driveway, and then we'll get started. All right, guys, I'm gonna move the truck into the center of the driveway now so I can work on it, but thought I'd do somewhat of a cold start. It hasn't been plugged in for 4 or 5 days now, I think, and it was pretty cold this morning. It was 19 degrees this morning, although it's warmed up quite a bit now. Still probably pretty cold inside the engine bay, so especially with it sitting in the shade most of the day. Oh yeah, she was pretty cold. All right, I'm gonna, freaking bright out here. I'm gonna move this truck in the driveway and then we'll get going on working on it. Right on. So I'm going to need to pull this air filter assembly off of here, and then I'll remove the CAC tube just like I did to get to the blue spring mod, which is right here because the thermostat is right down under there. All right, one thing I did forget to buy today, guys, was some new batteries for my flashlight. I still have some batteries, but they're not the greatest. So I apologize if I got some low light situations, but that's the thermostat right down in there. The radiator hose is going to be pulled off and replaced. Anyway, okay, touch base with you here in a second. I'm going to get this stuff removed and then kind of film as I go. Alright guys, it's been about 5 minutes. I got the air filter assembly off of there, and I am draining the coolant, something I forgot to mention earlier, which, let me get under here. Just this little petcock right up there. Getting some of this out of here so I don't lose too much of it. Delicious. I made sure I took off the gas cap, or at least loosened it up, so you know, wasn't holding the pressure of the system, of course. Yeah. Stop it. I'm trying to film. Alright guys, just another thing I wanted to go over real quick. If you've done this, you've taken off this CAC tube on the I believe it's the 05s and up. The 03s or the 04s and older. Maybe there's 03s and older. I can't remember. Have rubber boots instead of a solid plastic CAC tube like this one. So if you've taken this thing off or put it on, you know how it's a humongous pain in the ass to break it loose and to also get it back on. Well, it just so happens that this little pulling, I guess it would be an engine hoist or hoist eye, anchor point, whatever you want to call it, on the side of the block there makes a perfect leverage point. I'm trying to tuck this guy somewhere out of my way for now. Okay, so when you're trying to pull it out, you can take a pry bar and kind of sneak it right in here, just into that eye. I don't know if you can see this. And then you can pry back and break loose. And the same thing goes for when you're putting it back. You can take this bar and get it into your eye. Obviously you want to get it on the other side of the oil and the oil cooler hose and the dipstick here, but you know, one-handed showing you kind of a little trick. And I think Diesel Tech Ron on YouTube is where I picked that up from, so don't give me all the credit for that. Really don't give me any credit for that, because I didn't do anything there. So the thermostat here is right down in here. Looks like I just need to remove this hose right here, and then these two nuts, and it should come off, it looks like. I'm not sure if I have to do anything else special with this bracket here for that sensor or not. I think that's the exhaust gas recycler sensor. No, I don't know. I can't remember. Exhaust back pressure sensor, maybe? Yeah, that sounds better. I think that's the one I cleaned out when I rebuilt, before I rebuilt the turbo. This tube here gets kind of gumped up. So for those of you wondering about that, how to clean it out, it's right here. Pretty easy to get to. You just pull the sensor off, undo this guy, and you know, unbolt it down below. Where does that go? I want to say it wasn't too far. And that might not be the right sensor. I could be thinking of something else. Let's see here. Oh yeah, it does. It goes right. I don't know if you can see this, but it comes from up here and it goes right to the exhaust manifold right in there. Sorry, I'm not a professional engine bay filmer. You'll have to forgive me. Alright, so once my coolant's finished draining, which it almost is, I'll go ahead and pull this hose. Obviously I'm still gonna have some coolant left in the hose because it's not gonna pull all this coolant up and out with it, but at least hopefully it'll help minimize the amount of coolant that I lose, and I have the bucket down there to help me catch some of it. All right guys, well, I got the thermostat off. It wasn't too bad, the removing of it anyway. I did have to connect the exhaust back pressure tube from its little bracket here, the sensor. So in here we're looking okay. I'm definitely going to clean this up a little bit. The coolant inside the housing is a little dirty. It's not too bad. I'm going to take a towel though and get that out of there. I just kind of want to see what we look like in there, because when I compare these two thermostats side by side, you can see, let me get into some light here. See, the new one here has got this nice gasket that I wouldn't say protrudes, but it definitely doesn't sit flush. You know, it has a little bit of a bump here, a little bit of an edge, which you can sort of see. And this one has clearly been crushed completely flush. It's actually a little bit below this metal, so that could have been causing some leaking there. And there's a little bit of sign of some grime kind of right here. Looks like it could have been leaking because it was sitting on there like, I guess it was like this. Now it also is really filthy around, sorry, it is really filthy around the lip of this coupling here to go inside the radiator hose, and all in all just really filthy. Now inside, let me see if I got a flashlight. Inside is really bad. Oh, yep, the batteries. I mentioned them earlier. Thought I'd get more life. Okay, cell phone. What would we do without you, cell phones? So in here it's really filthy dirty. Let me get a towel and I'll show you. It's just really black. Now I don't know if this is from you know, when the head gasket's blue and everything was really dirty in there and all that coolant burned. You know, either way, I think this should have been replaced by Leadham's. You know, it's such a cheap part to throw in there. It would have been 20 bucks extra on top of that, you know, already massive bill I had, so I wouldn't have really cared. But anyway, oh well, I'm here now, I'm doing it. Just a couple things I'll go over with you before I forget. The draining of the coolant into the bucket helped substantially. I actually had no leaking while I was doing this at all. I disconnected it from here first and nothing came out. Disconnected it off of there and didn't leak at all. Okay, I'm gonna clean that out and slap that new one in there and then load this sucker back up with coolant. You know, forget one little thing and the whole job becomes so hard. I got the thermostat on. As you can see, the new radiator hose is on. Everything's put back together except for my air box here and this CAC tube. Now, I gave you guys a sweet tip earlier of sticking your pry bar down in that eyelet. But what I forgot to mention was using a heat gun or something to heat this up, because I forgot just how freaking hard it was. I was just putting a lot of pressure on there with that pry bar and I couldn't get it to pop on here. So I remembered that in the past, last time I did this, just a week ago, actually, it's funny how you forget things, but just heating it up with the heat gun for a little bit in there, kind of softening up that rubber, really helps it pop on there a lot easier. So I'll go ahead and heat that up. You don't want to heat it up too much, obviously be careful, especially if you're using a heat gun. These things get really hot, but I just hold it kind of back far and let the heat radiate in there for a while until that rubber gets nice and hot, and I'll kind of go all around the whole thing, even on the outside. All right, well, I got coolant back in the truck. Man, I wish I had a better way I basically had my bucket down there, see my funnel on it, that distilled gallon from water, and that little guy, I was taking that cup, filling the gallon bottle, and then had the filter in here, and I was filling until the bucket got empty enough to fill in here. Of course, I spilled a little bit at the end there. It was all going smooth until the end, like it always does. All in all, though, about 2 hours. Let me see here. About 2 hours is what it took me to do this project, and that was with a neighbor coming over and talking to me and cleaning up the garage a little bit. So not too bad. I think I came out here and started filming and working at around 2. You know, so, and it's 4 o'clock. Yep, 4:15 now. So about 2 hours. If I really hammered it out fast, maybe an hour and 15, hour and 20. I've never done this before. I actually didn't even watch a YouTube video or do any read-ups on this. I just knew what the thermostat was and attempted replacing it myself, and worked out pretty easily. I'm an average, I guess, or, you know, I've got some experience wrenching on stuff, but I wouldn't consider myself an advanced mechanic by any means. Sorry about that, my camera keeps shutting off on me. But anyway, like I was saying, if this doesn't fix the coolant problem, then what I will do is go ahead and look into that O-ring that goes between the intake and I don't even remember, but I'll look into that. Looks like it's going to be a pain in the ass to install, but at least I have a new thermostat and a new radiator hose out of this deal, and you know, it's good to upgrade those things, I suppose. I hate doing them before they're broken, but hopefully it actually was the problem. And I don't know, I just don't want to take it into the shop. I kind of really want to diagnose and fix this one myself. Don't want to see it go into the shop and have to spend money on it. I'm all about saving money right now, and you know, the more money I save, the more YouTube videos I can make, because I don't have more money to spend on my truck. And being that we're a little hard up right now, it's that's why videos are few and far between for the most part. But anyway, well, more to come soon. I do plan on doing a full review of that the E350 Transit 15 passenger van that we got. You know, if you don't know, we have 6 kids, so that is our daily driver, or my wife's daily driver, her grocery getter and kid hauler right there. I'll be doing a review on that just because there's not a whole lot of them out and around, not a whole lot of reviews online. And that one actually has the twin turbo EcoBoost 3.5 liter engine in it, so it's pretty sweet. But if that's something you'll look forward to seeing, then great. Otherwise, I'll just do it for all the other super dads and super moms out there that have a ton of kids like we do, and that'll be into that kind of video. Anyway, guys, that's it for me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I really appreciate all the feedback you guys have been giving me on the comments. And also, don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content from yours truly, Mr. Suburbia. Have a great day.